You gotta stop using that word. It's annoying.
Why?
It's an annoying word.
It's not annoying.
Yeah.
And it's a fun meme.
Yearly.
Why did you say that?
That's how it sounds like every time. Every time it sounds annoying.
You didn't even say the word.
I know. That's what it sounds like.
Sometimes you are the worst.
Other times, it was the best of times.
What a great line, though. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Indeed. Indeed it was.
Yes, those are the two options.
I don't like facing this way.
Well, you're going to face the microphone, all right? And you're going to like it.
Well, can't you just...
No. Can I just what?
Like rotate
Put it up your butt and hopefully it captures the right vibrations?
I don't want nothing up there. Leave my butt alone.
Wow. Like, damn, these are some interesting vibrations we got going on. But yeah.
Don't you just love election season? I get tons of messages asking me to donate to this person, donate to that person. But then I also get text messages that are like to my family members.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, please, I get enough of my own texts. I don't need theirs too. You know, it's been a pretty good week for video games.
Was last week like their depression season, or
no? I just mean
what
like,
is it? What does that mean?
There was a lot of really good video game news. What? Okay, so 4 days ago, we're recording this on a Saturday. 4 days ago, so the 8th.
I like that you roundabout way just said the 8th. Like
I had
you could have
math.
skipped the whole thing.
I was doing math.
Could have just said, "Hey, last Tuesday."
So on
hey,
the 8th, Alien Isolation had its 10-year anniversary. And so I'm scrolling on Twitter, right? Or X or whatever the hell it's called these days.
It's Twitter.
It's Twitter, okay.
But, why are you so confused by it?
But so it was the 10-year anniversary of the game coming out.
When was this?
On Tuesday the 8th.
Tuesday the 8th. Oh, okay. So that would be 4 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad we did math. 6 days ago, if you're listening on the 14th.
Yes.
7 days on the 15th.
Yes.
Oh, I thought we were practicing math. Okay.
But so I was scrolling and I see a message from the team of Alien Isolation and Creative Assembly, and they put out this really nice message for the 10-year anniversary. They're like, we really enjoyed your screams and like watching you guys play the game and how much love it's gotten over the past 10 years. And they were like, it's our pleasure to announce there's going to be a sequel. They're working on a sequel to Alien Isolation. And when I tell you, I wanted to cry. Like, I love that game so much. And I really thought it was impossible. Like, I was like, it's never going to get a sequel. Like, it wasn't as successful as they wanted it to be. But it's got like almost like a cult following over the years. And I am so fucking excited that they're coming up with a sequel. Like, But I got to talk about it, you know? Yeah. And I thought it was funny because I remembered the other night when we were going to bed and I was like, what? Sorry, my eyes were looking and I just thought Google's dumbass AI like message at the top was funny. It's like, hey, idiot. It's a single player game.
My favorite memory of that game, memory of the enemy, memory of that game is the fact that you didn't play it for several months in a row because you were trapped in a locker and were too scared to die in a video game.
Hey, that was my unmedicated anxiety, okay?
It's bad for the heart to like be in a locker.
And they didn't have the 5 difficulties back then. They just had the 3. So it was like easy, normal, really hard, basically. And oh my god. I was in normal mode, and chapter 5 or mission 5 took me fucking forever to get through because that's where the alien first starts hunting you. And I remember being in the med area and just, like you said, locker, just stuck in a locker for 30 minutes at a time, too scared to get out. Oh my god! And now I'm like, fuck, if I die, I die. Whatever. I've got almost every single achievement. I've played it on like 4 different like, what are they called? Consoles. Versus PCs, like 4 different modes. But I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to be playing it whenever it's announced and coming out. Like, I don't care how old I am. Alien Isolation 2.
Speaking of new consoles, did you see Nintendo made something new?
No, what is it?
It's super, super fun. It's an alarm clock. Nintendo made an alarm clock.
Why?
I don't know.
Are kids having trouble waking up? called alarmo.
It's called alarmo. Yeah,
that sounds like some video game
like
shit.
That 2.8-inch LCD screen that tells you the date, time, and shows a playful Nintendo mascot, including Link, Olimar, and of course Mario, who react to what you and Alarmo are doing. Alarmo being the clock, but if you stay in bed for too long, Alarmo might send a less friendly face to motivate you, like the evil King Bowser. Or if you're asleep and you're not looking at it and you're like, "Oh, Bowser's here," I wouldn't be like, "Oh no, Bowser!" Like,
I mean,
he's here to steal things. Like,
honestly, though, it's only available to buy if you're Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay, but like, it has a built-in motion sensor that can track your movements. It can track your sleep habits, which you can review in the morning, and can be waved at to snooze your alarm. So you're basically buying a Nintendo camera to put next to your bed.
Oh,
that's what you're buying. Like, it's gonna just watch you every time you're in bed.
That sounds really creepy.
That's fun. That's why I'm like smart alarm clocks. I'm all right. I don't need to be in that
You know
business.
what though? It would be so great to have like a regular old-fashioned alarm clock. Like, could you know, it's gonna wake you up and you give yourself a break from your cell phone at night.
Yeah, but hey, January 2025, get you an alarmo.
Well, we can get it now.
It should be launching to the general public.
But we
have
a Nintendo Switch membership. But we have a Nintendo Switch membership.
Not until January 2025.
No, we're the early ones.
Yep, we come early.
It says it's available to buy for people who are paid Nintendo Switch Online members, which we are. So if you wanted it, we could get it. I don't want it, but...
Ma'am, you got to read between the lines, okay? You got to get it in January 2025.
Why?
Why are you going to buy brand new things right as they're brand new? They're going to be terrible.
Well, I mean, I don't really want like a smart thing anyways. It creeps me out.
That's
Haven't
why
you guys
we
ever
have
seen
cats.
Smart House? Haven't you ever seen Smart House?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the cats.
Disney Channel original movie Smart House.
I have seen that.
It warned me about the dangers of an AI woman coming into your home. Sorry, Cortana. You'll never be real.
What? She could be in the Halo universe.
Okay. I guess I have a lot of horror game news right now, actually.
It's only horror from here.
Well, there's a few other ones, but...
We're living like horror game IRL right now. They're like, don't drink the water. It's poisonous.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, you could die. Make sure after you wash your hands with soap and water to rinse off the water with another bacteria killing thing because the soap won't kill it. And you're like, well, thank you. I'm glad that my soap doesn't work.
Yeah. I had a coworker and they're like, is E. coli really that bad? And I was like, yes. And they're like, what? I thought it was just like food poisoning. I'm like, yeah, food poisoning used to kill people regularly. Like,
yeah, it's
like you literally, do you want on your gravestone for it to say you shit yourself to death? No. And he's like, is dysentery still a real thing? Yes.
It's dysentery.
I think he's like 19, so it makes sense that he talks about this stuff. They always ask me questions and they just think I'll know everything. And I'm like,
oh, no, yeah. I don't know. Speaking of, we have the E. coli here just because it's in
we have it here.
The water, right? But some people, I don't know if you saw, but Marjorie Taylor Greene told her supporters to drink raw milk and stop being afraid. And there's been an outbreak of E. coli cases because they were drinking raw milk instead of fucking pasteurized. I'm like, bro, you're doing good, huh?
That's why, like, we went to a farm one time with your mom, and you guys were all drinking raw milk, and she wanted me to try some, and I was like, no, I'm okay.
Wow, you're allergic.
That's and she was like offended, and I was like, I'm too scared to try things like that, you know?
I'm too scared to try things.
My body's weak as fuck. I got a flu shot, and it took me out. Like,
yeah, I guess that's true. If you have a terrible immune system like Ripley, don't do that. But
I think I'm like allergic to something, but I had like blood allergy test done, and my doctor said I was fine. I don't know if I just need to get like the scratch test done or something. Like, but I'm always having allergy symptoms.
You want me to scratch you with milk?
No, scratch. Other things like.
What happened?
It
turned red.
When my doctor was telling me about lactose intolerance, I had gone to the doctor for it, right? And he goes, when you eat dairy, do you have these symptoms? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, I'm not going to charge you for the test, then you're probably lactose intolerant. Stop having so much dairy.
He said, "Does it hurt when you drink milk?" Yeah. Well, don't do that.
Yeah,
Then
pretty much.
get out of my office.
It was like, if you want the $100 test or whatever, we can do it, but you can just stop having dairy. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And now it gets worse all the time.
And now it gets worse all the time.
Yeah, like over the years, it's gotten worse. So like I used to be able to tolerate a lot more, or I could take like Lactaid and feel better.
When's the last time you had Lactaid, though?
It's been a while. Exactly. I just drink the milk now.
Exactly.
But like I had just like a sip of dairy the other day at work, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom like right now.
Are there certain things that are better for it, like cheese or milk or something? Or?
Yeah, so it depends on the type of cheese or milk. Like surprisingly, like heavy cream have lower rates of lactose, and regular milk has higher rates.
What about butter?
Butter is usually fine as long as it's not having tons of it all the time.
Dang it.
But like different cheeses have different amounts. Like Parmesan is really low in lactose.
Yeah, that's why it's the king.
I fucking love Parmesan cheese. And Swiss, oh my God, Swiss cheese is so good.
Swiss is not that good.
But other cheeses have higher rates. So it just depends. Mm-hmm. Usually for me, it's just like straight milk or like ice cream make me feel bad. But I can handle a lot more cheese. And then sometimes I'm like, oh my God, why did I have so much cheese today?
Speaking of putting things in other things.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like cheese and you. We talked about it a while back of like the future of like electric vehicles and cars and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. And I was saying like it just isn't practical right now because driving, especially if you drive long distances or I could see it in Europe where you're driving short distances, like around your hometown. Sure, you could charge it up at night, whatever. But like long distance here, we talked about like if I'm driving from one end of the state to see like our parents, that's a 7-hour drive, and you would have to stop halfway through and wait for your car to charge for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or you could stop at a gas station for 3 minutes and then keep driving. The benefit wasn't there. Well, Toyota's come up with a fun solution that they're testing out currently that I'm excited for because it not only deals with the electric problem of people being like, oh, electricity is going to be terrible, and the recharge problem of I don't want to wait for 30 minutes to an hour to however long to. What is happening over there?
There's a toy here.
Oh, there's a cat toy. That makes sense. But it deals with that, and the way they're dealing with it is they're testing out a hydrogen cartridge, basically like a tube of like hydrogen like energy that you plug into your car, and then you would go to like one of their stations and just swap it out and put the new battery in. It's like a hydrogen battery, basically.
Would it stick out like that?
No, this is just showing like where it would go in the car.
I was like, that seems really bad.
No, they're portable contracts. The concept looks like a giant AA batteries. This is just mostly their theory right now. So they're still testing it. It's still a long ways off, but I think it's really hopeful that they're especially using hydrogen, which would be much more useful than just straight up electric,
Yeah. Okay. So that actually kind of goes along with something I really wanted to talk about. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but I was talking to you about Bridget Mendler from Disney Channel. She used to be on Good Luck Charlie.
The smart lady.
And how she's so incredibly smart. So she's got a space startup called Northwood Space. And the thing that they're working on right now is revolutionizing like satellites. And they just passed their first test and like being successful and like taking steps to becoming better. They built the technology for it in 4 months as a team, which is I feel like incredibly fast for things in space to be reinvented.
Well, what part is like reinvented? Like
so okay, so I have the article pulled up.
Okay.
It's so beyond me that like some of it I'm like reading and I'm like, this is too smart for me.
You got a good reading voice. Go ahead. Tell the
people. First of all, I think it's really cool because they named it Portal.
Okay.
So they're developing ground stations to be mass produced and betting that its phased array based system called Portal can outperform the parabolic dish antennas traditionally used by ground station companies. It can connect to as many as 10 satellites at once versus the typical 1 to 3 free for parabolic dish antennas.
Okay.
So it'll help with that. We were talking about this the other day, the issue of like junk in space, and like there's just so many satellites up there like forever, and it's just
Yeah,
creating a
if you can
problem.
reduce the connectivity ratio of needing less satellites overall and to get the same amount of connectivity or a little bit better, that would be amazing because then you could take satellites out of orbit.
But yeah, I was like, she called it Portal, which I thought was so funny. I was like, I'm betting she's a nerd. Um, but she said she wants to take basically this. Uh, it's called the Ground Station as a Service, or GSAAS. Um, basically, it's got a lot of opportunity in space, but she said she wants to take this technology that's already been developed further to see what she claims is a connectivity very much stuck in a different era of blackouts and super expensive networks.
Yeah, I don't know if you or a lot of people are aware of it, but when money gets put into science and technology and the likely like applicable fields, we make great strides. Like within a decade, they went, you know what, we need to beat everyone else to the moon. We're going to pour all of our money into it. And it took them 10 years to get from flying across the fucking Atlantic to flying to the moon and landing people safely. Like
Yeah.
it's
And I think it's really cool because, like I said, they called the prototype Frankie, built it in 4 months, and then they deployed it, and then with more than 150 imagery satellites in orbit, it heralded Northwood's test as a major milestone.
Mhm.
And they said it's not only for historical issues like cost and scale, but it's solving having to build and test phase array antennas faster than they thought. It's a major breakthrough in science, basically. Like I
Yeah,
said, I was reading some of their quotes and I was like, I can't even understand what the fuck you're talking about.
there's
Like,
a
it's so
lot
good.
of major breakthroughs in science going on right now simply because people are like, the world is dying. We need to find solutions to it. And then you have some, like, very few people actually putting the money into it. So, three people just won a joint Nobel Prize in chemistry for mapping or 3D mapping proteins. So, 3D mapping proteins is basically what they would do to come up with cures and medicines for things, and they've done it with like three or four so far.
Mhm.
And it did one that helped with like it uh, come up with medication for diabetes that wasn't as expensive. They came up with treatments for like breast cancer that were much more effective based off these proteins. The issue was that their old way of testing them to get the 3D map to complete the 3D map of these proteins, because they're so small you can't like map them out correctly, right?
Mhm.
Is that they would let me make sure I got it. They would shoot X-rays at individual proteins to map them out. And the process was very expensive and it took a ton, like years to
Oh my
do.
gosh.
So they've only done like four, right? Well, they completed four, and those were the ones that helped with, like I mentioned, cancer and a couple other things. Well, these scientists, these group of three scientists who won the Nobel Prize, they took all of the known amino acids and building blocks and the completed protein structures, and they fed it to a supercomputer that they designed to connect the links between one and the other. And then they fed it all of the amino acids that they know of, the bases, and it 3D mapped all of the remaining known proteins to science. So we had like four for the past like 15 years, and then now this year we have hundreds.
That's
So they're like,
insane.
we are going to make a ton, like they're going to make a ton of medicines and like medicinal progress based off these proteins, is what they're trying to do. I'm
That's
like,
really
that's
cool.
awesome. Like,
I like hearing all the good stuff because I feel like there's just so much bad stuff right now. It's
I
nice to
don't
be
know.
like positive science.
Yeah. Positively, people died in that hurricane. It's
Oh my
you
god.
look at it like, oh no. You see how many people were posting videos and TikToks like, I didn't evacuate, I'm not, and then like 2 days later, or like someone will comment on the video, be like, yeah, this person's account's been offline. It says that day. You're
Yeah,
like,
or
yeah,
I've seen videos where people were
like,
like, "Oh, I chose not to evacuate, and it was the worst choice I ever made."
mm-hmm.
And then I saw all these videos of like birds of prey that normally don't like to be together, just like huge groups of them like walking down the street, like barking almost and like warning all the people in the area to get the fuck out. Like
Yeah,
I thought that
no,
was
it's
incredible.
dude. The animals will come together. Humans not. We're
They're
like, I don't
like,
care about this.
clearly we are all going to die if we don't get along.
Yeah. Well, did you see that it dumped a bunch of the besides like the obvious issues of hurricanes hitting,
Mhm.
the other issues are like species locations and things like that. So a lot of hurricanes, like when they'll hit, a lot of species will get swept up into the eye of the hurricane, and then they'll just travel with it because they're like, I'm not going through another one, another
Mhm.
half of a hurricane. But so it led to like thousands of like birds and like species that normally wouldn't get like inland to be forced inland. So now they have a bunch of species that are out of their habitat because in like a flooded area where they're like, I guess I'll settle down here. So it's
Yeah.
going to lead to a lot of problems.
I think I
I'm
showed you
like, oh
that
my
video
gosh.
of the people opening their door and they're just being like a fucking alligator
Yeah.
inside their home and they're like, what do we do?
Yeah. There was I saw one, um, did you see the post from, I think it was from the National Hurricane Association that was like, I cannot understate this. You need to leave. This hurricane is the largest we've seen in a long time with sustained winds of 185
Yeah,
miles an
didn't it say it
hour.
was the
And it
largest
was,
mathematically possible hurricane in
yeah, it
history?
was approaching. No, 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 not no. It was the fourth largest hurricane by pressure in recorded history, and it was approaching the limits of mathematical like possibility. So the mathematical like possibility of how strong a hurricane is based off of water temperatures, wind speeds, things like that.
Mhm.
So like with how warm the water was and the atmospherical conditions, that hurricane was almost as strong as it could have been before it hit landfall. So like normally if it's really warm water but it's moving quickly, it doesn't have time to pick up all that mass and energy, so it'll maybe get like a 2 or 3, like category 2 or 3.
Mhm.
But it was moving so slow over such hot water and the pressure dropped so much, it dropped below 900, which is very rare for hurricanes, that it sped up so fast that like the spiral sped up, not the speed of it moving. It was only moving at like 10 miles an
Yeah, but like
hour. But
a semi truck hitting you at 10 miles an hour is still pretty bad, you
well, no,
know?
that's what I'm saying. Like the wind speeds were like 180 miles an hour, and then it hit, when it finally hit, it was down to like 130, I think.
Mhm.
But even still, I'm like 130 mile an hour wind, moving 10 miles an hour with rain, and you're like, you ain't going through that.
So I'm so
Don't
happy I'm not on the
you
East
need to
Coast
get
anymore.
out.
Like I remember doing hurricane drills in elementary
Mhm.
school. And like they would be like, take a textbook, line up in the hallway, and like kneel up and curl up and put the textbook over your head. And
Yeah,
like
it would
that's our
work.
hurricane thing.
That would work in like the old schools because they were made out of bricks.
Yeah, but my school
But
was
like
all
new
bricks, yeah.
schools, no.
I know our high school was like all glass. I don't even know what your elementary school would have looked like, but mine was all
My
brick.
elementary school was bricks, yeah.
Yeah. There were
But
like no
they,
windows either.
yeah, because schools used to be designed based off of prisons, and then they moved to designing them based off of malls, which helped like students navigate and feel like
The mood, yeah.
more, wanting to be there. But I guess the with the hurricane, the Coast Guard has been a little busy. They
Well, yeah.
found
Thank God for the Coast Guard.
they found a guy floating on like an industrial ice box, like the ones you see outside gas
Mhm.
stations, floating on an ice box 48 kilometers away from land, like just floating out there
How
for like a
fucking scary
day.
would that be?
You're like, holy shit, like just in the middle of the Gulf, I think, or like off the coast. I'm like, oh my gosh,
That's
like,
why, like, I like to watch those natural disaster movies where people get like knocked off their boat or like they get stranded on their boat after a storm. They can't do anything. Like, oh my god, that is so terrifying. You know,
no,
I
no, it was bad.
just if you're in the middle of the ocean, all you gotta do is hope and pray somebody comes along. Because what are you gonna do? You
Mhm.
know, we don't belong out there.
So I saw this video. YouTube, I don't know if I'm just watching too much or what's going on. It's starting like the videos I'm seeing now that are getting recommended to me or like in the feed are old videos that I look up and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting fact. And I look it up and it's something from like January. Like today, I got a video that popped up and it was a guy reacting to somebody's TikTok, and the TikTok was a woman saying, "I'm sure you've heard, but NASA discovered city lights on a planet 7 trillion miles away."
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right? And so the guy then responded to that video and said, 7 trillion? Oh my gosh. how's the housing prices? Right? And it was funny. But then I was like, I don't remember hearing about this 7 trillion thing. So then I looked at it. So then I looked at it and I went to at NASA's actual website, and NASA's website was like, we never mentioned anything of city lights. We have not discovered anything of that nature. What was discovered and what was referenced in the original video, where people like took that and ran with it, was we discovered a new dwarf light in a system 7 trillions away, and they're like, it's just the birth of a star. Like that's what we discovered.
Aww,
they're like,
happy
it's
birthday,
the birth
star.
of it's the birth of a star. 7 trillion like years away.
Yeah, but happy birthday.
Yeah. But NASA was like, we never said anything about city lights. The only thing they got right was there's a light and it's 7 trillion light years away.
You know what?
Like,
yeah.
I'm like,
I like to look up stuff that I see on TikTok because
Yeah.
I feel like TikTok is like the Gen Z's Facebook for baby
it's
boomers.
just information. I was like, I gotta look at this.
Like some of it's really good, and then some of it I'm like, I don't think that's correct.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta fact check people.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like trying to look up stuff because I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on with some of that, and especially I was like, I think I would have heard about a new city somewhere along the way. Like,
yeah, I did see those videos on TikTok, but the ones I saw said that they had potentially discovered a light of the city, and I was like, I'll wait for more info on that one.
I saw an interview that was like, what do you think there's intelligent life in the universe? And he goes, well, that depends on what you define as intelligent. I'm like, by our standards, like we're intelligent, but monkeys are not, right? Or like chimpanzees, but realistically, we're only about 0.1% away or 1% difference in like the relative spectrum of intelligence levels. So like if you came across some other species that was the same distance away from us as we are to chimpanzees, they would look at it and be like, wow, look at Stephen Hawking. He can do astrophysics in his head. He's slightly smarter than the rest of these monkeys. Like little Billy's doing it in 3rd grade over here. Like that's the difference level of you're like, okay, cool. It's the same as us looking at an orangutan. You're like, wow, he learned sign language. Be like, yeah, he's smart for the species, but the species overall has managed to survive and do all these things.
Well, and doesn't like how far away a planet would be from us, like by the time we got to another planet that had life on it, wouldn't it have already changed?
Maybe, I don't know.
In the time it took us to travel to them, unless we discover something that can like break the speed of light.
No, there was articles about that too. It's like if you travel faster than the speed of light, it would be the same as just tearing holes in the universe. Like there's no way. That's why they're talking about like wormholes can bend space and light and time, but light will still travel through there at the same speed. And so you're like, I don't fucking know anymore. I don't know, man.
I forgot to take down the name of it, but there's like a phenomena where people swear that they like died, but then didn't. Like not like a near-death experience, but like
died but then didn't.
Like they feel like they got shifted to a parallel world, like an accident where they died. They wake up and they're like, "Oh, I didn't actually die in that accident," But people will like think that sometimes when they die, you just switch to a different like parallel reality.
Yeah,
that's so scary because
that's not scary. That's the same as when you in Skyrim and you're like, you know what? I wonder what happens if I stab these people. And you hit quick save, and then you stab a bunch of people, and they're all dead, and then you hit quick load, and then you go back. And then they go, I feel like I just got stabbed. And you're like, that's crazy.
But you have memory of that. In reality, though, you're just kind of like, oh, like I've already done this.
Why is Skyrim not real, huh?
Bro,
who are you to define Skyrim reality?
I would live in Skyrim.
It's real for those people. I would not.
What game would you live in?
Again, we've talked about this. We did it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. We did it like a year ago.
I think I'd live in Tiny Glade now.
Tiny Glade? No, there's no food.
You don't need food in that game.
You need purpose. You're just gonna build houses forever. Nah.
I guess not.
Gotta live in like Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley would be fun. Easy. Or what's the other Stardew Valley like game we played?
Sunhaven.
That would be fun because there's a lot of different environments.
Sunhaven would be fun. Yeah, there's demons and stuff in there. That'd be fun.
Be a hot little elf girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Silent Hill 2 remake came out.
Yeah.
I want it so fucking bad. I never played Silent Hill. I've always wanted to.
You want the remake.
And then the remake came out. Oh, the videos and stuff from it look so cool, so scary. But it's like $70 for the regular edition and $80 for the special edition, and I'm like, I don't have $70 to be spending on Silent Hill.
Right.
It's like I'll get to play it around Christmas time, I guess.
Yeah.
Silent Hill at Christmas.
Yeah. Have you seen? You know how people have been getting upset with Nvidia in the past few years for their prices of like the 40 series
I mean,
and the 30 series.
it's fair. The pricing, I feel like
Their pricing is not fair. What do you want?
Oh, I mean, because like
it costs them like $100 maybe to make and import everything, and then they're charging you like 1,000.
But I thought like all the like metals and stuff that go into those things are rare.
No, they're not rare. There was a shortage when COVID happened, and every company took advantage of that to be like, "Oh no, there's a superconductor shortage. We can't make computers and phones. We need you to do all these things and jump through hoops." And like, there wasn't a shortage. It was just a supply chain issue. Like just things just weren't moving as quickly. There's no shortage. They can just make them. They just hiked up the prices, and it's crazy. Now the 40 series was in like the thousands, right? They just someone leaked the proposed prices for the 50 series, which are coming out next year in I think it's like mid 2025. How much do you think that their 5090 was going to be priced for?
I don't even want to guess.
The internal leaked documents showed that the 5090 they were debating whether to price it at $2,000 or $2,500. I'm like $2,500 just for a graphics card. Like that's ridiculous.
You could get a whole brand new computer for that price.
And all of the other series, the 5070 was going from 600 to 700, and the 5070, I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I have seen people complaining about the VRAM thing, because more and more video games are requiring a lot more VRAM, and they said that Nvidia has been really stingy with it and not putting it like they're using the same amount for computers like 5 years ago that they are now. Mm-hmm. Like my computer has that, So
yeah, I do think like my laptop has 8 gigs of VRAM. Like my laptop's 4 or 5 years old. The computers that have 12, and you're like, that's cool and all, but if you buy a 5090 and it still has 12 gigs of VRAM, you're like, what is the point of all that?
Yeah. I got my 1080, and now that we've upgraded my RAM, it's like, okay, it's great. So I think I will wait a little bit for another GPU.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need it.
It would be nice to have a perfect graphics in Baldur's Gate 3, but you know what? It's not
perfect graphics. You don't need it to look fucking lifelike.
But what if I downloaded all these mods and now I got pretty clothing?
Yeah. Have you seen? There's a couple of videos that came out. One was a video of Cyberpunk 2077. Someone modded it and put in a bunch of shaders and upgraded their graphics and whatnot on it, and took screenshots and a video of them driving at like 100 and something miles an hour on a motorcycle, and apparently got reported to like police and a bunch of different things because the video looked so real that they were like, this is ridiculous. Like the people in there looked real. Like he modded the shit out of it, and it looked crazy. And it went in conjunction with another video I saw that was Unreal Engine 5 is being like optimized.
Oh.
And the videos that they're making with Unreal Engine 5, you're like, so it was like the demo video was just a car on fire in the street. And looking at the video, you're like, that's a real car on fire. Like it's so hard to tell that it's not a real life video.
That's so scary.
And then someone came down with like a giant bubble and like moved the smoke manually and like played with it so you could see that it wasn't a real video. And you're like, that's great. It's going to be very hard to distinguish video games and AI generated things from reality.
I saw something related to that, but it said like the level of your graphics will depend on your graphics card, but it was like showing a side by side, and it was like a regular like stylistic video game, and then the second one looked like real life. And what I saw in the context of that was that it's killing art. This need for everything to be ultra realistic.
I don't know if if you go on Google and you Google, let's say, baby peacock, and go to images, half of the images are AI generated.
Yeah, that's not a real peacock.
That's AI. Look, that's the real one versus AI. Like over half any baby peacock picture with color in it is not a baby peacock. Like they're brown and they're brown and white for survival purposes. You don't want a colorful baby.
Yeah, and like half of
look at all of
these
them.
just look like they just look fake to me. But also, like, isn't that destroying information? Like, we have
Yeah,
all
it's
the
flooding it
information in the world
with
at our
crazy
fingertips,
information.
and we are destroying it.
No, we're just diluting it.
You know?
That's
So,
why somebody said is like a majority of news websites that actually put out peer-reviewed articles cost money as opposed to free websites who just put out whatever they
mhm.
news stories they want to get clicks and views. So it's very hard for people to trust things when you're like, yeah, nobody wants to pay for the right information. That they'd rather just Google it and be like, see, I was right. 16 million people clicked on this article and it says I'm true. You know?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
We are in the yellow journalism age of the internet.
Hey, but this is Mindless Prattle. Welcome to episode 88. I'm Jordan. That's Ripley. She just remembered she didn't do
We
the
didn't
intro.
do the intro.
It's not we, it's a you job.
We.
Every time I have to remind you, now I'm just going to not do it. But welcome to episode 88. That's going to do it for us this week.
Can't we like put
No,
we should just
I'm not
record
moving
an
it.
intro or something.
No, I'm not moving it. It's not happening. It's Ripley's fault. She did not do the intro. It was
Everything
her one
is
job.
my fault, of course.
But if you liked what you heard, visit us at mindlessprattle.com or wherever you get your podcast from. And make sure to like, share, subscribe. Do whatever the fuck you want to. I don't control you. The government does, just like the weather. And
oh my God,
we'll see you
no
next
conspiracy.
time. You gotta say bye.
Bye.
Well, say it sexy like so they come back.
Goodbye.
No, now you're forcing it. Try it again.
Bye.
No, that was a question. That was a question. Now you don't know.
What does sexy sound like?
Go ahead, try it.
Bye.
You rolled your eyes during it. That's sarcasm sexy. Try again.
Bye.
No, you're undoubtful in that one. You gotta be,
oh my God.
Be unwavering, confident. Go.
Goodbye.
That one's good enough. All right.